Hey, happy Sunday, everybody. How's it going?
Welcome. How are you,
welcome. I'm good, dude. How are you?
Hey, another day in paradise, man. No complaints over here.
Nice. Yeah, it's been a heck of a weekend. I know here on the Michigan side, getting a little bit of snow, all the fun stuff, but nothing crazy. But in all honesty, nobody here wants to hear about the weather. I think they all want to hear from our guests because, I mean, at the end of the day,
panel lined up for tonight, guys.
Holy crap! Panel. So let's bring in, alphabetically because everybody in here is awesome. I don't want to, throw anybody, too quick. So we're gonna go alphabetical, starting from the top here. First up, Brian. Anybody that's knows Theo, like Theo was last night, I think, with Brian all night. I don't know if there's anything else.
That was crazy, bro. That was crazy, man. It was a long show. It was a long show, and now I get to just like chill and hang out. These are my favorite shows. Like I love these. I look forward to these more than anything because I don't have to do anything but chill, hang out.
You just gotta be
run the show. I don't gotta be a Phil. Yeah. It's rough, dude.
No producers, nothing.
It's a lot of work.
You did a great job last night, brother. You did a great job. Especially she said you were trying something new. So 100%, 100% fantastic.
Appreciate it.
All right. Up next, we've got Drew, aka Como Comics.
I was sweating. I forgot that B came before C there for a second. Like, it's late on Sunday, it gets crazy up in here. So
yeah, it was one of those things where even I had to check myself for a minute because it's Drew and it's Como Comics, and of course it was B for Brian. Like, this is right before C and D. You're used to being at the front all the time, aren't you, man?
No. See, I just like to pay for StreamYard. I don't actually like to stream. So
that's my
welcome in, man. Welcome in.
This is the first one. All right, and last but certainly not least, Swagglehaus. How's it going, brother?
Yo. Thanks for having me on the show. Go Niners, Brian. I'm going to need you to talk me out of FOMOing into a Brock Purdy rookie card by the end of the show.
That's rough. That's tough.
So FOMOs might be dead in comics, but not in cards this time of year is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, football cards, I guess,
Very true. But, I'll take that.
But yeah, thank you guys for having me on the show, and happy to be here.
Thank you for joining, everybody, and thank you to the 14 people in chat. Super appreciate it.
Let's go.
Love
guys.
having everybody in here. And I know my esteemed colleague here, RageTheo, has a series of questions, but there was something we were talking about behind the scenes before we got started. Because
just now with the
yeah, Brian was talking about his show from last night. Brian, why don't you catch us up on what happened, what you woke up to, I'm guessing, this morning?
Yeah, I was telling the guys I run little commercials before my live shows, just talking about like my other podcasts I do and stuff like that. And I've been running this commercial where I clip an old school stoner movie, and it's like a 4-second clip, and I've chopped it up and like taken out little parts and tried to put effects on it to try and it's been fine for like 6 months. Mm-hmm. Last night, it got hit, and I woke up this morning. You either need to clip it, take out that part, or the video's done. They don't even like give you a chance to keep it up, and they take the money. They're like, just clip it. So I started the process. I think it's still undergoing the clipping process. We all know that it takes forever.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was a great show. It was a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying streaming again. It was a little bit of time there where it kind of felt it was starting to get to that point where I could see where I wasn't liking things, and man, I changed it up a little bit, and it's super exciting, and I'm really pushing, trying to get back into the community aspect of things, and I love that I'm doing this right now. So I'm stoked. The video should be up soon.
Awesome. It takes a while for those things to load. The longer the video, the longer it takes, so. Yikes.
Man, that's what it's all about too, man. It's just getting together and have a good time, not really stressing about, copyrights and stuff like that. Do they at least tell you like what part of the video gets flagged?
This one they did, but to be honest, most of the time they're cryptic about stuff. They are really cryptic about stuff. They'll say, I got 2 strikes on the Bogcast channel, and I got 2 strikes on Beyond Wednesdays within a month, right? And they were for weird things like bullying, violence, weird stuff. And they would say, this is what it's for, but we're not going to tell you at what point in the thing it happened. So it's really ridiculous. And you guys know, everybody out there has heard about the algorithm problems at YouTube. It's very cryptic to even know what is right and what is wrong. So, it's and at the same time, we're talking about whatnot. Like, how many times can we talk about whatnot? I'm going to be the first one to bring it up. Everybody drink. But hopefully that was putting a stamp on that. And what a very ironic way for that show to end up this morning.
Did they pay somebody to put in the copyright complaint? Was that the issue? No.
I did, in one positive thing, I did at least see, I think it was just Friday, that YouTube is starting to come out with some changes where they will tell you, this is what you did and this is where it happens. So I think they finally heard that enough that they're starting to roll that out. Just in a YouTube update channel I watch. I guess it's a show that happens every Friday. They said that. So hopefully sooner or later when that happens, they'll at least not be so cryptic about it.
Yeah,
right.
Hopefully.
All right.
Theo.
We had a few questions lined up for you guys.
Yeah.
Why don't we? I'll let either one of the three you guys can go first. But real quick, let's just start with the simple question. What do you do on YouTube? Let's go there. What do you guys do on YouTube? Anybody want to go first?
We'll start with Swag down at the bottom. Swag starts at the we'll go.
Go ahead.
What do I do? I ask myself this question every single time I upload a video. I think to myself, I guess I'm just a professional runner. We're just on a treadmill all day and you just got to feed the machine, just got to keep going. No. Jokes aside. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Swagglehaus Comics. And, I talk a lot about, comic books and the market and the collectible side of things. And I kind of like to think of it as like I'm not necessarily like a big dealer, but I run the channel as if it is my comic collecting blog. And I'd like to think that the goal of my channel is, comic books are expensive. So I try to provide some information or value to people to sort of help them figure out how they can kind of navigate some of those expenses, whether it's to try to make hobby pay for itself or, try to understand what a good price to pay for, an expensive book might be. So it's really a lot of that. I think there's a lot of great comic book YouTube channels and I think that they all do various different things. I think I just try to focus in on sort of explaining my collecting journey in a way that people can kind of distill down to something that is helpful for them, hopefully.
Yeah. And one thing you said right there that I want to highlight, because I respect the hell out of that, is you said it's a blog for your comic book collecting journey. So that I applaud you for, sir. That's amazing.
Yeah, essentially that's what it is. I mean, it's cool. Wrapped in a different bow from time to time, but really at the end of the day, I think that's what it kind of is.
Yeah, in 20 years, when we all look back and wonder where our money went, we can watch it on YouTube. That's where it is. I remember now.
The kids will look back. Why was there nothing in the will, Dad? Well, you've got just go back on YouTube to those first episodes.
It's the nerdy version of How I Met Your Mother.
Tomo, how about you? Yeah.
Basically, it's how I express my comic book nerd that is just insatiable. I used to hang out at my local comic shop and just some stuff happened. Longtime friend and manager passed away, and it was that was kind of we used to literally call it basically church. That was our church. It's the place, or Cheers is kind of the same thing. It's where you went between the real world and home. It was just kind of your escape. And when that happened, I kind of I didn't have that anymore. So it's the wife's only going to put up with so much of me talking about comics, so I got to find something to do. And once I started, it just kind of turned into what it is now, which is basically I like to talk about the books. I mean, there's always the money aspect of it, and when you're starting out, that's kind of the natural tendency of where everybody kind of dips their toe into, because that's what gets views and stuff. But I've been pivoting back away to just focusing more about books that you can get for a certain amount of money, and it's not always about what's what you can flip, what you can make money on. It's about things that are worth your time, whether it's the story, whether it's just neat things that, you know, were like nostalgia driven for me, like anything that's like a 90s IP. I love to talk about that kind of stuff. But it's just actually about getting into and enjoying the hobby more so than making money all the time. So, and I like to actually educate about the books a little bit too. Like, I'm going to tell you who drew it, who did the cover, who was the writer. You know, I'll even throw out the name of the story that's important inside. So, you know, just borderline education, but wrapped up in just fun stuff too.
And your friend who was the shop owner that passed away, was, you know, because that's, I remember watching one of your last shows where you talked about like picking up Grendel, why that was important to you, why that was on your list, but also too, that was your impetus for starting the channel. I mean, this person had a lot of influence on why you're not just collecting what you collect, but what you're talking about too.
Yeah, I worked at the local comic shop. You know, like it kind of started out, you just hang out, then you just naturally start doing stuff. And like, well, I guess we're going to put you on the payroll now. You know, it's just, you're not going away. We might as well pay you and get something out of you. But you know, I was there for like 10 years. I learned how to grade from the original owner. And that shop is going to turn 50 years old in October. It sold like the year before last, right after the pandemic and everything. But it was an original owner comic shop for the first 48 years it existed. So it was just a really unique and valuable experience that kind of set me on this trajectory.
Awesome.
Love it. Brian?
I'm kind of the opposite. Well, not the opposite, but I got into this because of the flipping aspect. I'm an old school CBSI guy. You know, back in the early 2000s, I think it was maybe around that time, I had a little extra money because of, you know, having a career, and got back into nostalgia and the stuff that I loved. And then I found out, you know, you could kind of make some money to buy cooler stuff. And, you know, that kind of turned into making a lot of money speculating and this and that. And then everything kind of changed. The community aspect kind of happened. And then I found streaming through it. And I fell in love with the streaming part. Right. And now I just love live streaming. That's become one of my outlets, you know, my creative outlets. Like, you know, a lot of people back in the day when they were kids, you either had like bands or sports teams or, you know, something like, you know, video game teams, if you're younger, that type of stuff. And it's nice to have that again. It's nice to just be able to hang out with your buddies and shoot the shit. You get older, and, you know, like you kind of don't see your friends as much anymore. And that's just the name of the game. And now I can hang out with my best friend every Thursday night.
Yeah.
Catch up on the week, talk about what we love, this and that. And I get to stream it with people that are, you know, of like mind and enjoy the same stuff. And it's become really cool, man. So that's kind of my gig. I love just streaming, live streaming. I do put out a lot of cool content on other stuff that I love. I like to talk about aliens. And,
what's the name of your YouTube channel?
So I have one called The Bogcast. That's what I do with my best friend, where it's, you know, we just talk about, like I said, it's two best friends. The theme of the show is two ex-heroin addicts, you know, that are best friends that get to, and it's the truth. We talk about sobriety a lot. We talk, not necessarily sobriety. I'm a big, you know, cannabis guy, but, you know, we talk about life and truth and this and that. And at the same time, I get to shoot the shit with them. And then I have Beyond Wednesdays, which is comics, right? Nerding out, you know. So it's become very it's like a hobby on steroids with a little bit of mental health, you know, stuff going on there, you know, like good mental health stuff, you know. Talk with we need this, and we didn't have it over the epidemic or the, you know, pandemic, and, you know, it's great. It's really cool. It's cool to be able to do this. And I love that you guys have started this channel. I love that, you know, we're doing more of this. I tell people all the time, I would love to collaborate.
Better late than never, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's one of the blessings of COVID, even though it came with so many curses, is that it really propelled a bunch of us to, you know what, let's go get on this internet machine and let's go see what's going on over there. Let's go say hi to some people and let's go make some friends, right? So, I mean, that was one nice thing to come out of COVID.
More than just bitching.
Yeah. right.
Sometimes honesty, man. Sometimes honesty will get you in trouble, and when it comes to that bitching thing.
Yeah, and Jacqueline, right there. Yeah, much respect, Brian, about your past there. Yeah. We do have one question up here. It was retracted, but I'm still going to show it because this one's for Phil. Hope the person that retracted it doesn't mind me showing it. But it's a great question right there. What made you make a YouTube and work with another creator? I didn't know I was another creator, but thank you.
You are a creator.
I'm honored to
break it to you.
Doubly so.
You've never just been that one trick show pony, just pumping comics around. So check this one out, causing me FOMO all the time. So Reese, I had the opportunity to meet Theo on the phone, like probably a lot of us have that are in this chat and on this panel, on the phone.
Everybody in this panel knows
a couple years ago. And then we met at the conventions. We started rooming together, and honestly, it was constant chaos. There was a reason for the naming convention, but it was also we were really great at making content together and collaborating. And Theo had been pushing me over here. He's like, Phil, when are you gonna do a YouTube channel? Like, we could do this chat, we could do this thing. And then finally he was just like, all right, fine. We're gonna do this YouTube channel. I'm like, all right, I'm in. And because it's a lot. These guys all in here are handling a lot of work, running your own thing. Yeah. And so for us getting our feet wet, it was the perfect opportunity for Theo and I to collaborate and really kind of share that responsibility because he knows so many people. I get to play around with the tech, and it just seemed like a good opportunity. What would you say, Theo? Would you agree? Or
I mean, honestly, it's long overdue. I go hunting a lot. I'm always out in the field doing comic book work. I mean, I'm doing live shows on 2 different apps now. Hopefully, I can add more apps to that, including this one. But it just feels like it was long overdue for people to kind of just hear my voice. If I'm really honest. But yeah, long overdue. Instagram. I mean, you can only say so much and portray a message in such a way. Same with Whatnot or any other app that's out there. Really, this is one of those apps where you kind of get to like lay it all on the table, and people either take it or they don't. Yeah.
And I just wanted everybody else to have to experience these phone calls that I would normally have with Theo. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to put them on the internet so everybody knows what this is like each day. So,
by the way, real quick, a shout out to all the people in the chat. Golden Age Guru, I see you. Daywalker, Jacqueline. You guys are always in here. Unofficial Geek.
I had a throwdown with her the other day with on somebody else's channel. We were debating the Joker versus Loki.
A lot of great people.
She's great. Yeah.
Appreciate
all.
Into the West. House, Into the West. We got Dan in here. We got Tech Geek in here. There was another question in here. Shout out to Legion of Comic Books. I like this question, and I think all of us should actually answer this one. What do you guys think? You got one Dragon Ball. What's the one thing you would change for the better in the comic book community?
You're gonna hate my answer.
That's a deep question right there, guys. Now let's do a majority vote. Yay or nay on this one? I mean, I'm down to answer.
Okay. Before we get into this, somebody explain to me what a Dragon Ball does, because that's like
any Dragon Ball fans in the room.
I'm a G.I. Joe guy.
It's like a huge power kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a wish thing, but basically it gives you the ability to kind of, change.
Cosmic cube type stuff.
Well, I want to say
kind of like the reality stone kind of thing.
Less, right?
Okay. I'm with you. I just want to make sure I wasn't going to, do something he can't do. I didn't, no outrage.
I got one. I know 100%. I would want to be able to stop time and walk through it. You know what I mean? Like, go through it and stop it. That's what I want to be able to do. Do something like that, right? Because then, like that's the only thing that we really have no control on is time, right? And if you could do that, then you could like go back in time and go like back to the 80s, and
they were great.
Yeah, man, going to like buy a box of like 1986 Fleer basketball and break it open, and going, and hang out in the old school comic book stores and pull Hulk 181 off the rack, or like do cool stuff, see conspiracy stuff, like who really shot Kennedy and stuff like that. That, I think, to be able to walk through time and at the same time like stop it, slow it, that's it.
Yeah,
that'd be dope.
Yeah, I agree.
Bumping off that, I think taking that time travel ability and pulling in some of the business model of comic books back in that 80s and maybe applying it to today's business model. I think to me, it feels like maybe a top down thing. Going back to the question where it's like, okay, what could help the community a little bit better? I mean, part of me is just like, okay, well, if I could wave a magic wand, let's just get rid of negativity. But it's like, that seems too generic. So really, it's like, to me, it's like, okay, how do we make it so that publishers are not incentivized to like the way that they make money obviously is off of the retailers by creating like incentive variants and all these things, and really like the way that their business model is structured creates an incentive for all these retail stores to have to over purchase, and then all those retail stores then have to sell to customers and try to get them all hyped on like the 1 in 50s and the 1 in 100s and whatever. And I'm not hitting on variants. It's just that business model, I think, is the root cause of like what creates a lot of financial pressures on everybody, whether it's a retailer or a collector, And
do you think
that would be the one thing?
Do you think that that is like because of social media and stuff like that, that if social media wasn't here, we wouldn't have that toxicity? And I mean, like, seriously, like being able to bring some of that stuff. We grew up in a time period, a lot of us, the 80s and 90s, where like we didn't have to deal with that. And
for sure,
it's a big deal these days, it feels like. And it's hard to roll with it sometimes.
You gotta imagine some of those write-in letters in the comic books that would be like, "Dear Stan," like they never published the ones that like they probably got some real tough feedback from time to time. But now here in the social media age, like people can obviously have that opinion amplified, so you hear a lot of it. I mean, I'm sure that there was like negativity back in the 80s, but like they didn't have.
Oh well, just not everybody was hiding behind a keyboard then.
Yeah, that's
usually
true.
when you said it to the person's face, or you like called in on the radio and you're like, you're like, you're like one of those guys, and then the guy, the DJ can actually like, oh, I agree with you, or oh, you know what, I don't think that's right because of such and such, right? So there was actually dialogue happening back in the day when there was an issue. Now you just
talk to people,
leave the message. And then that's it. Now it's reply, go back and forth.
Exactly.
No context, no tone, no eye contact. All that jazz,
you have worry of an ass kicking now. Back then, at least. Now it's kind of like, What about you, Como?
I mean, Daywalker stole it. I was going to say newsstands. I would say that the beginning of the end started when we went completely direct market, or majority direct market. But if I had to give like a world peace answer, I'd say I'd take away the ability for people to give a crap what other people are collecting.
Ooh,
because if you just do your own thing, who cares?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think there's less of those people out there. Do you think that the hobby, because a couple of years ago, I had a big retailer say to me that, for the most part, people really don't care about any of that. They just want to read what's in their comic. They just want to buy their comic. They don't care about any of the stuff that's going on in the, like our world, the selling world, the spec world, the YouTube world, this and that. It's just people coming in. They want to read their book that they've been reading for 30 years. I feel like that's kind of died, really quick in the last couple of years. And in all honesty, I think also that the comic store was that place where like you kind of do what we're doing now, right? And this has become that, right? For a big part of it,
Yeah. Yep. It's hard though too. Like I think I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, but I don't know. Like I think like obviously comics, like I think will always be a thing, because I think the format of like visual storytelling will always be something that people really enjoy. But I also think like, if you're a dope artist today, or you're a super talented writer today, who like maybe in the 80s, like you would have drawn sequential art. Like I think that there's so many different avenues for those people to explore today. And where I'm going with this is like going back to like, oh, like just getting back to a time when people can read the books. I think there's a lot of complaints about the quality of the books. And I think my thing about that is like, I think the best people just aren't incentivized to write or draw comic books. Like, you know, like the sickest artists in comics just do variant covers. Cause it's like, it's just easier and it's a better return on their work for them to just do variant covers, and then they can go to a con and sign a bunch of covers. Like there's no motivation for J. Scott Campbell to do sequential art. There just isn't. No. Like, so that's a problem in itself. And I don't know how you fix that one, but if you could get some of those people back into the comic stories, whether they're writers or artists, I think people would really appreciate that. And I don't know. I don't know how you force that, but you know, maybe less titles and more investment on the publishers to make the best series.
Yeah. Getting back to that story. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a big wish. Yeah.
I mean, you think back, like when the Marvel age first started, DC was distributing Marvel comics. I think Marvel had 8 comics a month on the stand.
Yeah.
Until they took out their own publishing, because that's all DC would distribute for them.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, if you had to trim your offering down to where you had 8 books a month, you made sure what you put out was good. Mm-hmm. And now I don't feel like we're obviously not in that world anymore, but still.
Yeah, it's definitely different right now. 100%. No, but at the same time, I do see where you guys are going. I know I do have to agree. As much as I would love to change about comics, you know, at the same time, I also love, like, you know, variants once in a while too. I'm a guy that likes a little bit of everything. I'm kind of eclectic like that, right? So I have to at the same time really agree on the social media context and the allowing everybody the room and the space to collect what they enjoy again, because I feel like every time somebody posts something, I thought about that, but, you know, I don't collect those kinds of things or crap like that. You know, it's just it's this passive aggressive kudos, you know, you can kind of see in posts and comments sometimes. And you have to kind of wonder, really, like, this was a hobby that it was in the 80s and the 90s that really was not cool to talk about being like, you know, if we were going to stream about anything in the 80s and 90s, we would not have been in here right now talking about comics of all things, right? Yeah. Because that was, and it just blows my mind sometimes to think about me as a high schooler having to kind of go and hide at a comic book shop reading the X-Men, because I always felt like, you know, that was, you know, people could be trying the best to do everything and do all the right things, and people still hate them regardless. You know, that spoke to me a lot as a teenager. And I think now when I look at some things, I think we forget that there are kids just like that right now, trying to find places, trying to find safe things. And we were those kids, and we're also now turning into those gatekeepers of like, well, this isn't really valid. This doesn't really include you. This doesn't really, and that
you're
that
collecting wrong, you know,
that upsets me. That's probably my number one pet peeve right now in comics, is the declusion of anyone and anything that just that person feels like, in my opinion.
I think one of the things that I plan on doing this year, and I've put it out in the ether, I've said it to force myself to do it, and that's to key in more and do more segments and create the content about the stuff that I love, right? Like the niche collecting things that we all love, right? I want to talk more about that and find more people that are into that stuff and bring them into the community. And that's what I'm going to do. Just because I agree with that, like collect what you want, and we need to continue to push that, collect what you want. Whatever you collect is cool. I don't care. I'm not a fan of homage covers anymore. I used to love them. And you know what? I don't care if you collect them. I don't care if you don't collect them. Just collect something, right? And if we talk about it more, I think, and we show people like, and we keep saying that, it'll change stuff. I think it'll change stuff. It'll show people will see the stuff that we talk about. I watched an Instagram post the other day, and I never recognized the guy, and he's a content creator, and he's, I found my grail, and he holds up he unboxes his grail, and it's a Witchblade 161.
Yep. It's Diesel Dan.
Right. And
one of the kindest guys you'll ever meet in your life.
Right. Yeah. So that book is one of the books that I talk about all the time. That's one of my favorite all-time books. It's a creator first, Josh Middleton first, negative space cover. It's got that badass Dia de los Muertos skull stuff. Beautiful cover. I walked into like a place and there was 30 of them sitting there. And I had been looking for that book for years. Like that's the type of stuff. And that's not like a book people really care about or not very many people would, go crazy to get. But that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. If you talk about the stuff that you're into, even if you think somebody else is not into it, I guarantee there's somebody else that collects it. And they'll see that. And now I'm following that guy. Now I want to be around people that collect the same shit I do, are into this, same type of, their peers. Mm-hmm. And I think YouTube, again, I'll keep praising YouTube. Other than the TOS stuff, there's this community that can be created and has been created before. And I think that's a key in 2023, especially with what 2022 was. It was a large shit show for quite a long time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Shout out to Steve Says Boom. How are you, sir? Yeah, and just to piggyback off that one, I think it'd be really hard to please everybody with one wish. I think if I really, me personally, because I think if I could do one wish and it would be like one for like everyone type thing, I'm just gonna go completely off the rails here, completely different than what you guys said. I think I would just grant everybody their grail. So whatever that is, like if everyone's is an action one, well then everybody gets an action one. You know what I mean? Like I think that's one of those things in comics because I grinded for a long time before I got mine. For anybody in the chat that doesn't know, it's an X-Men 1. But I do feel like that once you kind of hit that, like, okay, yes, I got my grail. It kind of, I want to say like it's a little less stressful. If that makes sense in comic books, like everything else like you get that you're like, yeah, I'll keep this, or yeah, I'll trade this, or whatever, you're good. But it's like once you kind of get that one book you've been chasing, like I don't want to say nothing else matters, but yeah, it's just a little less stressful. Yeah,
you just find a new one.
Yeah, I would just get everybody their grail. That would be
check the box and I find the next grail.
Yeah, because in comics, I mean, that's we all love the stories, we all love the artwork, we all love the people that are around this. But like at the end of the day, I mean, everyone's in here because there's some superhero, or there's some writer, there's some story that really like touched their heart and has been doing so since the day they got exposed to it. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to, right? Everyone's in here because they picked up a comic or they saw a movie or they've had some experience with relation to supers and they want to keep that. So
and Brian, so highlighted right here, Dan's Comics. That's Diesel Dan right there. So
Dan, friend. What's up, bro?
Shout out
new friend, friend right there, dope, right there.
Man. That's
I had to look that cover up. It's pretty nice.
There's a variant to it too. That's nice.
I saw that.
It's not as nice as the A cover.
Yeah,
here you go. And I'd agree with you. It is all about the journey.
The journey.
But the thing is, though, some people can't even go through that journey, if that makes sense, right? So the journey is amazing. Don't get me wrong. Not everybody can do the journey though, because of certain circumstances or situations in their life, right? So.
I like to make Swag feel bad when I talk about when I bought my grail.
Yeah.
Because
well, for context, because Drew's been back in it since what, 2004 or 5? Like
yeah, like right right at the turn of the year into 04,
yeah, like majorly
yeah.
back in it. So like every time I'm like, oh dude, I just picked up a blah blah blah, and he's like, I remember when I got that for $50 or whatever, right? So he always trolls me in that.
My Grail is not the most expensive book I've ever bought because I bought it 11 years ago. I paid $3,600 for an AF-15.
You don't
pretty good price.
So yeah. It's I mean,
that's a great book, man. Yeah, no, be happy and proud of that.
I am
amazing.
but you know, like to Mickey's points, like I was paying $50 and $75 for single digit ASM books when I got back in. It's like I just don't think people who have gotten in the last 3 to 5 years can even process what Silver Age was selling for in 05 and 06. It was just ridiculously cheap comparatively.
Crazy.
It's like that Back to the Future situation where you're just kind of like, you know, you get the sports almanac. You're just wishing like, you know, you got the mod, you know, that cover price, that go collect that, whatever, you know, you just fast forward in time. Like, what's it going to be on it? All right, gotta grab that one and that one and that. Yeah.
And now that I've read this again, maybe mine's not so good because I think everybody would be in the same mindset. Well, now that I got it from Rage, I got to go get my next.
Everyone would just move down to the next one on the list, you know, and it's really the thrill of the hunt that keeps us all going.
Everybody be after Avengers 1 at that point, Mick.
Just cheat code everybody. Everybody's even more
find that
happier
10.5 Avengers 1.
It's also fun finding them in rare spots for really cheap too. Right? Make it tough on yourself. You know, say I don't, you know, I may want this book, but I'm not gonna pay what it's going for. I'm gonna make sure I find it in a dollar bin, you know, or something like that. That's the hunt of whatever item it is the fun part.
And I tell you, before we got on, we were talking, you know, like just talking points like pointers and things like that. I tell you, it's hit or miss, but one of my biggest tips is if you go to like, you know, Daywalk and I was talking about Kane County Toy Show in the comments. One of the best things you can do is look for comics in places you wouldn't expect to find them. So like if there's a local toy show or a ball card show, you know, just any kind of a flea market, kind of like that, which comics aren't necessarily unusual at a flea market, but go where you don't expect to find comics and then look for comics. Some of the best buys I've ever made are in just the one sad, lonely half box sitting on a toy dealer's table at a toy show. Just flipping through. Oh, hey, ASM 41, like 6.5 for 40 bucks. Yeah, here you go. Thanks. Have a great day. But no, I've done that time and time again. So just because it's not a comic show, check some of these things out. One, they're full of cool old stuff. You might meet some people and you never know what you might find.
Nice. And I had to highlight this question because I've also been doing the same thing. And somebody earlier asked, what's something that you're currently reading? So I got to highlight this because literally in the past like 3 days, I've read Tailspin, I've read Pocahontas, I've read The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, like all those miniseries back from the 90s. Yeah, that's what I've been hunting and reading to my kids lately. So I respect that. We actually read Darkwing Duck 2 the other night.
That's on my top 10 once for this year.
Together, you know, like they don't know about that stuff unless you tell them. You know what I mean?
There you go.
That was a cartoon too for teenage boys. If you remember for a period of time there too.
Patron Saint J. Scott Campbell.
Well, back with and you know the Wildcats and all the fun stuff.
The Jason Pearson cover, rest in peace. The Gen 13 Janet Jackson cover.
Yeah,
the Rolling Stone cover. Yeah, that was sad. I didn't even know about that until I saw his post. That was crazy.
I mean, that was a great question though.
If we really want to bear it all here, to speak of how popular Fairchild was in the 90s, I believe I traded a Fairchild card that was just like wrapped in a wizard. You know how wizard you saw
the chromium one.
I've got it. Hold
on.
I'm pretty sure I traded that card to my neighbor for a bootleg copy of Showgirls. I'm pretty sure that's how hot that card was.
So this is an error card from Wizard. So this is actually a miscut. a miscut Wildcats.
Oh yeah.
And it's got a Gen 13 back to it.
Would you trade that for again one more time?
It was a bootleg copy of Showgirls.
How old were you?
Go. 13, 12, something like that. Yeah. I mean,
That's
hey,
the
props
90s,
to you
baby.
for 13 pulling off that trade, though.
yeah, I mean, the hustle started early.
J. Scott Campbell was doing work, son, for a lot of young men back in those days. It was interesting because doing a thing with Cover Price, I learned that his first appearance was in Nintendo Power. J. Scott Campbell's first artistic appearance was in Nintendo Power.
That's right. You were telling me that, yeah.
He won. Yeah, he won a competition for creating a game, and
those things
it was
are
all of his
expensive
drawings
right now.
I know. Oh man, I would love to go back in
nuts.
time with Nintendo Powers. And I saw Como. I had you had the number 1 you just picked up, didn't you?
Yeah, I got that the beginning of last year. I mean, it's beat to hell, but literally everything's there because there's a poster and then like subscription inserts that, just like comics are, anything that's not there that originally was, if it's missing it.
Oh, it gets a green label. Yeah.
I have to ask though, does anybody remember with Nintendo back in the day? Because I got into a lot of trouble for this. The 1-900 help Nintendo number. Where you could call and you could talk to an actual game counselor.
Oh yeah.
I spent like 3 hours on that phone, and then like my parents come in with the phone bill, and they're like, "What the f- is this?" Calling Nintendo, and I'm like, and I didn't know. It was just like it just wasn't an 800 number, and it said it's going to be like $5.99 a minute, and I didn't like. Well, I don't care. Something, I went through it. I was like 12, and. Man, I got my ass kicked over that.
It's like the final scene of Home Alone 2 where you just hear your dad yelling across the neighborhood. You spent $900 on room service.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that was a great question, though. So I got another question for you guys. You guys ready? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the current market right now? Because you guys are on YouTube. I know some of you guys report on the market a little bit here and there. Just from your perspective as YouTubers, what's your guys' thoughts on the market right now?
I'll let Mickey go first. Mickey's got a really good eye. Yeah,
everything's worthless. Everything's going
as long as you're buying, right?
We ship all of your
send
papers.
that AF-15. I'll do you a favor, okay?
Yeah.
I like to kind of look at the markets and I tried to one of the things I've been doing on my channel is trying to put together what I call like the age indexes. So like I'll take the top 100 sold Silver Age books, Copper Age books, and Bronze Age books, and I kind of like add them all together on a monthly basis, and I kind of figure out, okay, like what's the value of each index every single month. And generally speaking, we've sort of seen like all of the gains that were that 2021, 2022 period have effectively been evaporated from every single index, but still the index itself is still more valuable today than it was in 2020 before things got crazy. So like, to me, I think it's like, if you bought the top in 2021, you're probably in the red in a lot of books. But generally speaking, for the most part, if you found some good deals and maybe you sold some stuff or you bought anything in 2020, you're still doing really good for the most part overall. So like the real question I have with the things moving forward is really like, are we going to get to a place where the value goes below, 2020 and 2019 prices? And my guess would be no, because I suspect that even with all the churn that has happened with people kind of leaving and a lot of like the people that kind of got into it for speculating purposes, like they've all kind of left. I think that there's probably still more collectors today than there were, say, in 2020 or 2019. And just by volume of people still in the hobby, I would suspect that the values would still hold above that of, those previous years. But, if all of a sudden we get a like housing market crash, unpredictable, catastrophic event that is unrelated to comic books, then yeah, maybe that will fall out. But, that's kind of, I think, where we are generally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Drew, how about you?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know, I am originally a vendor, so I've been selling comics for over a decade now. And I just see it as an opportunity. And from what I perceived is like there tend to be two ways a year can go. Either it's a wall book year or it's a box year. So the majority of customers will either be shopping your wall because times are good, they've got a little extra money in their pocket, they want to go in for a bigger book, or when times are a little tougher, people tend to transition back to run fillers or just breeders and stuff like that. So they'll hit the boxes. I feel like this year is going to be a box year for the most part, just because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world for a lot of people, which is understandable. As far as like the seller side of it, it's absolutely just been insane with like the frequency with which collections are coming up to be sold, which I'm happy to get back on the road so I can fill up the war chest and keep buying. But ultimately, I would say if you don't have to sell, and I think Danielle said this on your guys' show last week, it's like, if you don't have to sell right now, don't sell. I mean, there's real world stuff. If you need to sell because, you know, a comic's not going to keep you warm, it's not going to keep a roof over your head, it's not going to fill your belly, but don't just cash out because you see the prices coming down. The prices always go up, they always go down. It's a dance. It's a slow dance, right? Some years they're better, some years they're worse, and it generally trends up. So right now we're just kind of pulling back, and I think there was a lot of cheap money that was out there in the world for the last couple of years.
COVID money.
Yeah. And you know, everybody was staying home. You weren't spending money on travel. You weren't going to the bar. You weren't going to the restaurants. So we just had a lot more money. That's all dried up. A lot of the new faces that came into the hobby because of that have transitioned out, because back then, I mean, speculation was great. You just throw, you know, anything up against the wall and it would stick because everything was going to the moon. Now you've got to be a little more deliberate and a little better researched, or, you know, better informed to make any kind of a reasonable gain. But I think the market overall is healthy. Like Mickey said, you know, the moves might not be as impressive or large, but the overall volume is still really healthy. And I mean, just look at Pre-Code Horror and Golden Age. That stuff is still just, it's a Shark Tank anytime, you know, certain books pop up.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be okay. It's different. We got out over our skis on some things, and we're just picking ourselves back up off the ground. And we'll be all right.
Yeah, and I think most of the chat kind of shares that too, especially with the outside environmental factors that not a lot of people honestly want to or even like to talk about. And that there's some real stuff going on in the world right now that affects all of our, you know, all of our pockets, how much we're getting paid, how much it is to go buy groceries nowadays. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, a comic book doesn't keep you warm at night. So
yeah, Swaggle did a great piece talking about that. It was a couple episodes ago, I believe. It was the price of eggs. I think you were comparing things to. You know, you gotta
choose eggs or comics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've gotta really kind of make your choices there in those situations. And it was a great part about that. Yeah. So if you want to have a deeper conversation on that, check out his video from I think it was a few days ago. It was a couple episodes ago. Yeah. Make sure to check that one out. But I know up next we've got Brian. Brian, what do you think, my friend? What do you think about the state of the of this?
Couple things. You know, I love to look at the market in different ways. I look at it through the eyes of content for the most part. I do a market report every Wednesday on my channel with the On the Radar show. I'll be working with Ferdbird the Nerd to probably bring a market report show to the channel. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're working on that now. But I like to look at the market as a whole and the whole collecting aspect, right? Like as a comic book shop, you know, that doesn't just sell comics, it sells toys, and it might sell cards, and it might sell, you know, all this other, you know, collectible things, right? So it's very interesting right now. I think that nostalgia is king right now. I think that last year it was all about what's new and shiny and this and that, and now it's all about nostalgia. And I think all that new and shiny stuff is going to take a pretty big hit this year. I think that the exclusive retailer game is you're going to see probably some people fall by the wayside, and you're going to see a lot. I think a downturn on a lot of books. Retailer exclusives, variants, stuff like that. But the good ones will continue to do a good job. And I think that retailers need to be a little bit more picky about what they're doing, what their print count is, that type of stuff. And hopefully we see less. I'll be honest. Hopefully we see less. New retailer books and people selling. Not people selling less of them, because it's always great when they sell books, but more people selling more of back issues, right? I think it's what Como said about being a wall book year or a box book year. Man, that was excellent. I agree with Jay, who commented how good that comment, what that saying is, because I think you're spot on with that. I think this is a year where a lot of books are going to be put in a lot of retailers, a lot of people aren't going to be selling a lot of stuff. So put them in their back stock, and some of the characters are going to hit in a couple of years, and we're going to get another cyclical speculation boom. And, I hope that's where it's going. I'll be honest.
X-Men.
I'm really worried about, if the publishers, if what the publishers are putting out, especially the big publishers, isn't quality, it's going to be rough, man. It's going to be rough. There could be some major, dominoes that crumble because of that. And then just starts, something that we all don't want. But do I think it's going to happen? No, but DC and Marvel got to start putting out some stuff that we talk about. Like, it's been a while since we've had a Scott Snyder, Capullo Batman, or a Donny Cates Venom, or, it's been a while since we had something that every once in a while something will come up, Strange Academy, or, something we'll talk about. X-Men's pretty cool right now, but it hasn't been that thing where, like, Wednesday, everybody's, instead of saying, hey, did you see this cover back, when the quality of the writing is good, it's, hey, did you read Walking Dead?
Yeah.
So
it feels like indie comics is where that's at, really, still, as far as things go, in my opinion. But at the same time, do you guys, just to expand though on this one question for a second, do you guys feel like this market that we're facing, that we're talking about right now, do you think that this might bring more impetus on storytelling for these creators?
I'd like to think that it would. If glass half full sort of version would be like, I think going back to, just telling great stories and letting, like, sort of the work speak for itself. But the pessimistic side of me thinks in this market, I could also see it going the opposite way, where publishers are thinking about what trick can we pull out to get a pop, and if it's like, and nothing wrong with, like, Berserker. I thought that was, like, fun. But, like, for instance, like, you see how successful, like, getting someone like Keanu Reeves to, like, be the face of a comic book, like, is for something like that. Like, I could see that happening a lot more, like doing celebrity things, or, like, I joke about the Amazing Spider-Man Eminem thing a bit on my channel, but those types of books are able to, like, manufacture that pop even in a down market like this. So I could see publishers continuing to, use that trick. But it'll eventually will fade out, like all things do. So I don't know. It could go either way. That's my feeling on that.
Great.
Another question for you guys, because I'm glad you mentioned the Berserker. So my question is, do you guys think that the days of when, because I forget who just said it, but about a year ago, somebody said this, where the days that we could speculate, you could basically speculate on anything. The time between movies and TV shows there was such a gap that it didn't let speculation die off. Do you guys think we're at a time now in comic books where movies and TV shows no longer affect the value like they used to?
Oh, definitely.
There's so many.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. I think it's interesting. I feel like you're right, where that playbook of, like, oh, I'm going to buy the thing, and then I know when the trailer comes, I can sell it during the trailer, like. And
like that time has gone, like,
that time has, like, the window kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And then eventually I think everything, at least Marvel and to some effect DC related. Everything got speculated on already, so like that speculation price is already cooked in to a lot of the values of books. But I can see a world where like, you know, we kind of go through this calendar year and it might start to like all things do, like the pendulum swings back and forth. Ironically, you might get to that point again where people start to get excited about what they see, especially if the movies and stuff can turn it around. Like, you know, everybody knows that Kang is coming, right? Like, so if you wanted to buy it, you probably bought it, you speculate or whatever. But, you know, who knows? Like maybe a couple more Jonathan Major appearances.
But let me ask your opinion on this one. If you had a Kang, all right, let me ask you.
You're on the hot seat, Swag.
You're on the hot seat, and we all know I don't have a Kang, so I can ask this question. So let's say if you're somebody who bought a Kang specifically to resell it, when would you do that?
As soon as I was in the green. So like my feeling on the book is that you always make your money when you buy, right? So it depends on what you bought it for. So like if I was at any point where I had equity on it and my intention was to flip it, I would sell it as soon as I had equity. I wouldn't try to get cute. I wouldn't try to like time the top.
Based on recent sales data. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but if I have it now and I bought it in like during Loki season 1, like I mean, you either have to cut your losses now and just accept it, or you got to wait till 2024, I'd say.
You guys, you see that? Where else are you going to get that type of information? Look at that.
That's my guess. I don't know. That would just be my guess. But it's kind of like what Brian was saying. It's like
you either caught the boat or you didn't. Yeah.
You got to put it in your back stock. You know, you just got to. You know, there will be a time. You just have to put it. You know, take it off the wall and just wait.
Yeah.
Yep. And Mickey, I think we talked about this the other night when we were live, but it's sellers have got to get past the point where they think they're going to be the person to set the peak. Like you can't hold out to be the highest in the market, because if you do that, you're screwed. It's the chances you are going to be that person are so minuscule. Don't even play that.
It's like I always say, only one person buys the top and only one person sells the top and only one person buys the bottom. The chances that it's going to be you is very small. So you got to be, you know, you got to jump in if it's a book you want, or you got to sell if you think you have some equity and not, you know, you're hopeful 10x.
I think Kang at its height as soon as he got announced, right? As soon as you know, the Loki stuff probably happened. Was that its high?
I think Loki was its high. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So my thing right now is, I think, and this kind of also correlates with the thing about if TV shows and movies are affecting this stuff anymore. We're at the stage where, speculation wise, it's all based on the option news and the rumor news, right? So the book right now, Beyonder, right? Kang is going to be the Beyonder. You know, that's the big rumor. It sounds good. It's got me excited where Marvel's heading with this. If they take this in the right direction, and it's the direction I think we all think it's gonna go. If they do that and they pull it off, man, it could be exciting like it was during Infinity War and Endgame, and when Thanos, you know, was first showing up on screen. Like this could be
but disclaimer: if he's not the Beyonder after that movie and he goes back to being another version of Kang, that book's gonna tank.
Well, it's going to be an amalgam. It's going to be an amalgam of both, right? So Kang, they're going to defeat this version of Kang. Another Kang variant's going to show up, aka the Beyonder, right? And then we go into Secret Wars. We go into Secret Wars, and man, that's when they bring in the young cats. And if they pull that off, holy cow, that's what we're all excited for, I think. At least me, that's what I'm excited for. I want to see Miles.
Yeah, and I agree with this sentiment here. I think I've been Paul Revere for about the past 2.5 years now. But yeah, Kang is a great character. Kang is not a great character to collect to many collectors. We are all waiting for the mutants to be in the MCU. So, you know, like I love Kang. You know, he's a very integral part of the Avengers, and not a lot of people were even talking about Kang even before we found out there was a Kang. So I think that statement does have a little bit of accuracy there. I don't know. Am I guys wrong? Have you guys seen a lot of people posting about their Kang books before we found out we were getting Kang? Let me know.
I feel like villains just don't last the way heroes do, though, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, the villain loses, then they're out of sight. It's kind of
That's
like,
where they
unless
mess
they're
up.
Doctor Doom or Magneto. You are correct. Yeah.
but they haven't even appeared yet, though, right? That's the thing, right? I mean, like, where's Thanos now versus when he was in the MCU? You know, I think of every single other villain that we've seen in the Disney Plus shows and each movie. I mean, you know, where are they?
Did you guys?
You know, what happens to the villain after it's over?
Did you guys see the Wolverine or the Hugh Jackman interview that he just did, where he explained the timeline that's going to be happening in Deadpool Wolverine, like how the timeline is there? Because he asked the interviewer guy, Chris Wallace, I think it was a weird interview, asked him, asked him like, but isn't didn't Logan die in the Logan movie? And Hugh Jackman says, yeah, but what's going to happen in Deadpool Wolverine, that hasn't happened yet. You know, that tells you that it's like a time thing, right? It's a multiverse thing, right? Yes. It's a perfect time, and he's going to get pulled out of it maybe for, you know, setting up kind of like the blips and Secret Wars and stuff, right? You
so we talk about this all the time, and I love that they're bringing Hugh Jackman back. Don't get me wrong. He kills it as Wolverine, okay? He is Wolverine, okay? But man, if you're bringing that guy back, it's gonna be really hard for me just to have like a one and done with him, or even like a 2-movie thing, and then you show me like the new Wolverine. Like, I don't know if that does that character justice, you know, as opposed to starting fresh. Yeah, am I wrong? Like, just putting it out there.
I mean, as long as his performance remains at the level to which you remember it from previous.
You know, Hugh, dude, he's a showman. Like, he is gonna be a great Wolverine no matter what. If they're smart, they'll play him like an old man Logan and let him mentor a young X-Men group if they're smart. But I feel like this is just like what you said, Brian. This is going to be a multiversal event. He's a variant of some sort, and then we're going to get our Wolverine maybe 2-3 years when the X-Men are really ready to get ramped up. I'm just saying,
I think should be an X-23 instead of a Logan, though, because that's just it's not fair to who's replacing
Wolverine, man.
I almost feel like he should father X-23, give her some time, and then a variant of Logan comes in at some point. I
bring in the young ones.
I think money talks in that situation. Like if Avengers Secret Wars rolls around and it's like the sickest movie ever, and every single person who's ever been in a superhero movie ever is in it, and it makes $3 billion. Like, Hugh Jackman's gonna be like, yeah, that was a pretty sick.
I'll hang out.
You know,
maybe
now that
I hope that's the plan.
Well, maybe now that the multiverse is reset, it's like, cool, we can cast our 20-year-old Wolverine, and hey, you can be old man Logan now in the MCU, and maybe he's down for that. Like, I think it all depends on like what happens. You know, if the movie's a flop, he's going to be like, all right, I'm done. Like, he's going to walk away, right? So it's I think it's one of those. But really quickly on what you were saying with Kang, I totally agree with you that the historically speaking, like, were there a lot of people who liked to say buy Avengers number 8? Probably not so much. So that is like a risk to a book like that. Like, who are going to be the holders? But, you know, we're all susceptible to being swayed by pop culture. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm tired of movies making books more expensive. But it's like, dude, like, those are the same people whose favorite characters are X-Men, and they grew up on the X-Men animated series. Like, it's like, of course it has a role. Like, if it's good, and maybe Jonathan Majors has a bunch of lines that turn into like memes in the way that Thanos has like a million memes, like, there's going to be people who are like, yeah, Kang's pretty cool. Like, I don't mind holding my book. Like, it's going to correct, like all books do, but the floor will be higher.
Well, what was that? Iron Man 55, first Thanos, first Drax, right?
Yeah.
Iron Man 55. I mean, that exploded in Infinity War Endgame. Now, because we know we're getting Drax back in the Guardians of the Galaxy, but prior to in between that gap right there, that book was on a dip.
Yeah. But as low as it corrected to, it never dropped below what the value was when he was in Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Prior to him being casted, yeah.
So even as high as it went never went below the first time you saw Josh Brolin in a movie. So that would be my suspicion of Kang too.
I got a question for everybody about, that, and we're thinking, speculation, the market stuff. Do you think that Beyonder can sell above 150 in a 9.8? It's selling at a 9.8, 150 right now. Do you think that first appearance of the Beyonder is going to go up? Is going to sell for more than that? If how much? If we see the first, or we start hearing about the Beyonder showing up.
Well, if we can get a confirmation that he is, I think it would. I mean, if somebody can actually say, like, it's not just a rumor anymore, like he's actually
that's got room to grow.
And you know what? Based on what you said, where like it looks like Kang's going to be the Beyonder, I think that's going to hurt that book. Because more people will be more inclined to go for the early Silver Age Kang keys than they will be to go for that.
It's Secret Wars,
I mean, if Jonathan Majors shows up in an all-white suit, you know what I mean, and he's like, "Call me the Beyonder," then like maybe that book will go up. But you're right, Rage. Like if it depends,
they're going to go to the OG first.
Yeah, it depends on like what version we see. That would be my guess. I don't know.
Well, that's not going to happen until Avengers Kang Dynasty or whatever the final Avengers 5. It's not, that wouldn't happen until the end of Avengers 5 if it is going to happen. That's a long ways away.
It's a long way.
And you know what? I'm just excited for what's coming. I think the Ant-Man movie looks so good.
Right here. Let's get hyped for Ant-Man. Let's get hyped for Into the Spider-Verse 2.
Yeah. I just feel like Marvel is coming for our hearts this year. Like they are going to
Galaxy 3.
Grown men crying in theaters and women and children and I feel like everybody's going to be crying.
We need a little Empire Strikes Back in the MCU.
Good, yeah, amen. Fucking
we can't win all the time.
Yeah, no, I agree, but man, I just wish sometimes the heroes could actually win, like not like retire, right? Theo and I were talking about this on an episode of
off into the sunset.
There's like Iron Man dead, Cap disappeared on everybody and let all this shit happen, and then it's like I don't mean, I'm not saying like it's got to be all sunshine and rainbows, but I mean, like, can't anybody just be like, high five, guys, this has been great, I'm gonna be done. This was it. I did my thing. I did the best I could. It happened the way it happened, and I'm retired, right? I feel like, geez, man, can't we have one retired? Like,
well, Hawkeye did that, but then his family disappeared and he went psycho.
Yeah.
So
no, you can't.
It didn't work out.
Can you blame him though?
We got to keep going. We need the next thing. I always say this: every 4 years there is a new high school generation. And that high school generation needs Spider-Man 2, and they need Iron Man 2, and they need Cap 2, and so it's like you got to keep it going. Even though we've all seen it, and we're like, how many times are they going to remake this thing? It's like there's new high school kids, man.
Well, and I think
I can watch Uncle Ben die over and over. I'm fine with that.
Well, I think it's one of the MCU's biggest strengths and weakness is that they're going so hard for the continuity of each thing leading to the next, right? So if you're doing that, and you get rid of an Iron Man, even though you've gone like 20 projects forward, they're all connected to each other. So how do you just squeeze back in another Iron Man and just keep it going? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You kind of got to do the Thanos snap and start over,
Have a Secret Wars.
I think that's what they're going to do,
Yeah, Secret Wars is going
to need to do.
Well, there will be another He Who Remains, right? Or she.
Yeah.
However this works out, right? Whoever it is that remains at the end. Well, I think that's where they're going to pull in the mutants officially, the Fantastic Four. I think we're going to see them all popping in from these weird other realities.
We're getting
the quantum
Fantastic
realm
Four before Secret Wars, right?
Well, supposedly there's some people speculating potential Fantastic Four in Quantumania in a post-credit scene, like them coming up and revealing themselves. Suppose that's actually a rumor, considering Richard's relation, and again, there's rumors about everything, but it would make a little bit more sense.
The quantum realm and the negative zone, and
yeah. So I mean, could it happen? But whoever it is that remains, I think it's going to pull all those different characters finally into one continuous Marvel purchased back.
Yeah,
property.
February 14, 2025. Fantastic Four.
You know what's funny? They did Secret Wars and they did like Crisis on Infinite Earths and these like multiverse things to fix the continuity in comics back in the day, right? Now the movie, the Marvel or Disney is using the same shtick to fix the continuity in movies right now.
Well, ultimately, like Secret Wars was just developed because Marvel really liked selling comic books. They did Contest of Champions, and it went really well. And they're like, "Oh, I mean, we can just make some shit up every summer, and people will buy all these extra books." Yeah, and seriously, it was Contest of Champions, Secret Wars, and then they blew the levee, and it was just a flood of miniseries in the mid 80s. Everybody had a miniseries. Even the Eternals had a miniseries, 12 parts. Who the hell is going to read that?
Yeah. I mean, literally though, you can just see that what the comic books have done is like what the movies are doing now, like business model wise, right?
Yeah.
Crossover events, got to get other people in other things, and the crossover events like sell the most, right?
But Marvel's
these little,
let's do a Marvel versus DC for all the Marvel v DC collectors.
Oh, wait,
but Marvel's too big though now, right? I mean, the plot lines, the superstructure is so huge. If you want to try and be new to Marvel, you have to watch like a month's worth of movies and shows and to me, in my mind, they're resetting because they can't get new people anymore. There's nobody extra coming. They just keep on grabbing the same audience, and there's becoming few and fewer and fewer because they missed one movie 20 episodes ago, and they don't understand why the hell there's a big hand sticking out of the earth now because the Eternals look boring. Yeah. And all of a sudden, they don't know why we're going to have Avengers with Captain America 4, right? Well, they don't.
And this is a very interesting like media problem that is like kind of new in our like sort of in cultural age, where you think about like if you're like a video game company who's had like whatever World of Warcraft going on for a long time, like how do you get someone into a game that's existed for 15 years, or like how does like WWE teach someone about the history of wrestling? Well, they have to like keep making these like, here's like the documentary package that they show of like the belts that have changed hands. And like you see like in Disney Plus, they make these like, oh, here's like the Wanda recap. And they like explain like, leading up. So they're just going to have to problem solve those types of things through creative ways. And it's an interesting problem that a lot of IPs have to deal with, actually.
Well, Marvel's basically just repeating the same problem that they had in the comics, right? You just have to go at the point where you have to reboot. And I guess if we're going that route, I think there's no better way to reboot other than Secret Wars, ultimately, personally.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Secret Wars, the Hickman Secret Wars was essentially Marvel's Crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
That was 100%. The reset button.
Yeah.
I hope they do a Contest of Champions.
I just gotta say, you know what they do after the Secret Wars? Like, how do they up the ante after that? Like, they got to do the Marvel. Well, X-Men, of course, but they got to do Marvel DC crossover.
DC. Oh, don't make Theo pass out right now because he's got a whole room devoted to those books.
Like Avengers number 15, and you have like Captain America and Superman.
Have you guys never read Avengers versus Justice League? You guys
know what DC should do? Okay? DC should do Elseworlds Tales storylines for their entertainment.
Sign me up for Gotham by Gaslight. I'm there.
Yeah. They should say there is no continuity.
There's no Brandon, continuity. A lot of people share that sentiment, and you know what? I need more Werewolf by Night because that was fantastic.
Yeah,
that was a breath of fresh air right there.
My favorite thing about that is Werewolf by Night was in the Werewolf by Night show, unlike Moon Knight.
Yeah.
That was my big thing.
Werewolf by Night was my
Sometimes
favorite.
You just don't put in that big of an actor. Sometimes you just have to say to yourself, who's somebody that we can get to wear a costume and a mask for a lot of this because he can ego-wise step out of the role long enough to, be Moon Knight or be whoever. It's like the same problem we're having right now with the Mandalorian, right? He wants to take off the mask. Mandalorian doesn't take off the mask. Listen, if you don't put me out of that mask, you can cast somebody else because I'm tired of this, Sorry.
Yeah.
Colossus makes a good point. They got to establish a DCU first before we get any crossover.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Very true.
Well,
I mean, you guys were talking about crossover, and I was just sitting here daydreaming about like an amalgam movie universe.
Dark Claw,
Spider Boy.
Or imagine like all the people that have ever played like Batman, like all the different superheroes. Shit, bring in Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern while he's facing Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Like,
well, we've still had
bring
more.
them all in, you know.
We've still had more different Batmen in the last 10 years than we have replaced Marvel characters. You know, I mean, when you think about it, there's been that many Batmen. It's ridiculous. I don't know.
And there you go. As a DC fangirl, I just want a universe movie, likewise like the MCU. Yep. Yeah, that's it. Just a little bit of continuity and some cohesion, right?
If I was the head of that studio, I'd be like, listen, we've tried to create this continuity. We tried to create this universe that all attaches. Let's just let Batman be Batman. We'll let the Joker movie be Joker. We're going to do a Lobo movie with Momoa. We're going to cut Aquaman, but let's it all in their own universes. We don't got to worry about the continuity stuff unless we want to. And every tale is a different tale. You know, Elseworld style it. Then they don't have to worry about any of that, and they make just great content. They don't have to worry about any of this stuff.
I feel like though what Marvel did right was hiring a fan. Feige enjoyed the books. Feige enjoyed reading,
right.
And I do believe that's what they have now with Gunn.
He helped with the Fox X-Men movie.
And they're going to have now somebody that's thinking that big picture overall, because I feel like Warner Brothers beforehand was running by committee, like 20 executives in a room. What sounds good? I don't know. This person's popular. Could we try that? You know, it was just kind of this hit or miss management style.
Well, DC's tried that, but you got to be careful. You can't just hire a fan, because remember, Bryan Singer made 2 great X-Men movies and then went and made the worst Superman movie ever because he wasn't the fan of the right thing. He wasn't a fan of the Superman comics. He was a fan of the Superman movies, which, you know, they're not one and the same.
I think the key is like, I don't know, you don't have to be a super fan, because if they're doing it right, they should have like historians who work internal at the buildings who like know the creative, who can help the filmmakers, but you got to respect, I think, the source material. I think if you come from a place where you want to like honor it, and you don't have to do it exactly, I think you just have to like know that like there's a lot of people who really, really love this, and I want to not let those people down. I think if you come from that place, you'll do well. I
agree with that.
But can I throw out a speculation on the current DC stuff?
Oh, first time on Comics and Chaos. Let's go. What do you got?
Well, you know how like there was that thing that came out recently? Did you guys hear like there was like a story that like, oh, some executive at like Warner Brothers thinks that who's the guy that Ezra Miller?
Oh no, not
Flash or whatever.
That what?
That Ezra Miller might return as the Flash or whatever. Did you hear about that?
Yeah,
he is.
I'm not going to go into like the crazy politics of it or whatever, but the point I think is, I think that is just like smoke from some executive who probably worked on the Flash and doesn't want that movie to bomb, because I think as Unofficial Geek was saying in the comments, where it's like she wants like a persistent universe, like I think all of these movies that they have in the can that they're going to release, like I think James Gunn knows he's going to just axe all of them.
Yeah,
you know?
They're just trying to make money on it still before it comes out, right?
Yeah,
you know,
and if,
let it be announced.
Trying to break even.
If they were ever actually going to admit that, like, oh yeah, we're done with Ezra Miller. Like if they flat out said that, then like that's acknowledgement that the Flash movie doesn't matter. So like,
hold on,
that would hurt any potential money they can make on it.
I'll play devil's advocate and say, what if they're doing it just to utilize the Speed Force, like, and have it change everything, right? Have it flip everything, have it reset everything.
They need to bring him back as Grant Gustin when he comes out of the Speed Force, and I'll be okay with that. If Ezra Miller ran into the Speed Force and they just reshot the very ending with Grant Gustin coming out being like, "What?" You know,
everyone would.
I'm out. I'm good.
Brian, 100%.
Like what Young Aztec said, I'm still gonna watch it. Yeah.
From birdies I've heard here in the film world, I think that could have been a thing, but I just don't know if that's still.
He's messed it up too much. He went and got arrested and too many times.
Yeah.
Grooming kids, you know, that's just you don't come back. You can't be a superhero and be.
That's a hell of a drug, man.
I mean, as messed up as he is,
Nobody's convicted yet. I mean, innocent until proven guilty, but you catch these things eventually. You can't come back from that right now. Not
it's
in this
almost impressive that he's so much of a train wreck. He almost single-handedly just sunk their two biggest IPs. He blew up Harry Potter. He blew up DC.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a liability.
Yeah. That's why you don't invest too much in one person, people. That's just spread your wealth around. Good call. But yeah, I was really upset because it delayed the return of Michael Keaton to me, because this movie was supposed to come out last year.
Yes. I know.
This movie was supposed to come out last year, and to me, I'm that 40-year-old child that I remember winning tickets on the radio to go see the midnight opening of Batman, and like my parents dropping me and a friend off at midnight to go see a movie, and it was Batman, and it was like that was the beginning of my movie and comics like obsession fandom childhood wise. And I'll tell you what, seeing Michael Keaton again had been life for the last year and a half, knowing that was coming up, like doing those stupid DC virtual convention things where I'd tune in all day and be like, oh, preview of the Flash, oh my god, that's gonna be Michael Keaton. And then all of a sudden there's like, well, we're gonna postpone it to 2023 because somebody's an idiot. And I just needed the movie to come out because I just need to see Michael one last time. I need it.
We were also supposed to get him in. We were also supposed to get him in Batman Beyond. There was like the talks of the Batman Beyond stuff too, right?
Yeah, so, they apparently iced that.
Oh, man.
But they iced it because there's new owners, new leadership.
Batman
it might come back.
Would be amazing to do with Michael Keaton as the old Bruce Wayne. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You want to reinvigorate the DC, get Terry McGinnis up in there, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be fine if they did coming back as the Vulture,
He's going to be too busy showing up in post-credit Kraven scenes,
There you go. Yeah. Hanging out with his pal, Mac.
Morbius and Vulture are going to recruit Kraven.
Is Kraven going to be cuddling, like tiger cubs and stuff like that too? Because this is an animal lover, Kraven. I don't get it, people. Let's hate a villain again. Why can't we hate villains anymore?
I just think they confirmed that Robert Pattinson's Batman is no way in shape connected to the DC EU in any way.
Yeah, I believe they're keeping that separate. I hope so because it was good, and I'm okay with that. I can use a little dark.
Mind
the world sucks.
Batman, though.
I could use something happy too.
I mean,
just saying.
I like my Riddler that doesn't need a safe word. It's just that was too weird for me. I liked it. It was well done.
I was
like
just
the actor,
talking about that rendition of the Riddler the other day. I'm sorry, and I'll say it live. That is probably one of the worst villains to ever be depicted.
Really? Darkest real world. Real world dark.
In today's society, right? Just in today's world, right?
Oh, I get what you're saying.
That wasn't like a Riddler to me. That was like just a normal, crazy, bad shit. I got issues. Let me incite a mass shooting at the end and put tape on my face like a weirdo. Like, dude, not my Riddler. Not my Riddler.
Just all they got to do is do the animated series characterization of the Riddler.
Yes.
That's the best one.
I would have taken Jim Carrey as Riddler again. Hey,
I would take Jim Carrey too, but like just this
a bowler's hat again, and
just very calm, and had the stoic, mysterious Riddler, very intellectual. Puts Batman in some kind of weird meta VR.
The guy in Robert Pattinson's Batman, he was just a psycho. I mean,
I think they wrote it good. I think where they're going with the second installment, though, is they announced that they're going to go more centric on Batman rather than the villains. Because, when they first announced this and it felt like the Long Halloween, they were kind of doing that type of stuff. Where that was the whole thing about the Long Halloween. It was centric on the villains, and each story was about villains, and that's where, if I remember correctly, that's where we all thought this was going. That's kind of where they talked about it, right? They were what they were doing, and now they're flipping it. So that's pretty interesting.
I mean, Brian, I would be totally okay with your suggestion earlier, where like Elseworld stuff, and I don't even know how much this qualifies, but make an Arkham Asylum movie. Just throw the bat in the nut house, and let's go. How amazing would that be?
See, and that comment alone that's highlighted. What quote can we even quote from the Riddler that we saw in the Batman? I don't have a quote for him, but look, I can quote this. 20 years ago, this was said, and it still rings to this day.
Yeah,
bro.
it's true. It's true.
Val Kilmer was an underrated Batman too. I have to say,
I
a lot of
agree.
people.
Yeah,
he was
he was-
underrated
he was-
Batman.
he was not
like
bad.
Jim Carrey Riddler. It's not even debatable. You would know what this is. Yeah.
I love both Two-Face and the Riddler, so I am not unbiased when it comes to my love of Batman Forever.
I do have to say though, if we can spend so much time on Batman, villains in movies and television shows, why the hell haven't we had a Justice League Dark yet? Why haven't we had a Justice League Dark yet? I want Detective Chimp. I want Zatanna. I want Constantine. I want my demon. What? Like, of all the different things, we had a Suicide Squad before Justice League Dark. I don't understand it, but sorry, I'm having a moment. I'm going to go away now. I'll be back.
I mean,
Jim, thank you so much, man. And by the way, guys, we got 30 people in here still. We've hit upwards to 40 in the chat tonight. Guys, if you haven't liked and subbed already, can you please do that? Okay. We got these fantastic people on here. Okay. If you guys aren't subbed up to these guys' channels as well, what are you doing?
Yeah, seriously.
We'll be sure to put their channels in the description of this video, too.
Yeah. Yeah, go sub them. Come right back, though, please. Okay. Yes, I need Zatanna. I need her. I need. That's probably my one big DC character that after Black Adam, I was very upset with Hawkman. I was very upset with especially Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate, I felt got nerfed into Doctor Strange territory. But I could use some cool magicians, some great magic, and I think Zatanna would be a lot of fun.
You guys watching? Do you guys watch Teen Titans?
I was for the first 2 seasons. I haven't watched it since it migrated to HBO Max.
It's great. It's awesome.
Catch up with it.
It's one of the best things that has ever been put out for DC, movie or TV content. Like I think it's that good. It's really good. And
is it better than season 1 Flash? Because I thought season 1 Flash was honestly penultimate television adaptation.
I don't know if it's better. Because I agree with you. Season 1 Flash was amazing. I was not a fan of the Arrowverse or Arrow, but Flash was like the first 2 seasons.
I liked Arrow the first 2 seasons, but I agree. After that, it kind of.
Yeah,
Flash blew my mind every single Tuesday, every single what was it, Wednesday or Thursday night? But every single time Thursday night, I like me, my entire family, my parents, like we would all be waiting on the next episode of the Flash. It was ridiculous.
Flash held up with good graphics too and CGI. I will give that show that they did a pretty good job with that stuff. You could tell they didn't like half-ass it or anything.
And the acting was fantastic. Jesse Martin as the father figure in there was probably the best well-written father ever in television, because usually as guys, we all know as dads, we either screw up, we can't cook, we can't clean, we can't take care of the kids. This man's doing it all every episode, and he's a detective, and he's trying to balance knowing the fact his adopted son is a superhero who's also in love with his daughter. And it's just, this guy's juggling so many things. If there is a dad of the year ever in television or superhero television history, Jesse Martin gets that award, in my opinion.
And when they first introduced Zoom, that character looked so good. Looked amazing. It was absolutely right.
I can't not hear "Run, Barry, run."
Yeah,
I can't not hear that every single time I see an episode. "Run, Barry, run," and I hear that. I get chills. Still, it's stupid. Yeah. I'm fanboying again. I apologize, guys. This is really unattractive.
We got a few questions in here. Any castings for Zatanna that you guys would like?
Daddario
be good. Yeah,
Alexander Daddario as Zatanna. Yeah. All day.
That's perfect.
High five, brother. Virtual high five. I'm there with you.
So, guys, that was a great question because that led us down many rabbit holes. I do have a YouTube question for you YouTubers. You guys ready?
Sure.
And we're at an hour and a half, so I think we're only planning on going for a couple hours, right, Phil?
Yeah, and I want to be respectful of your guys' time as our guests. So if you need to dip
at any point, if you guys got to go, you just let us know. Yeah.
You just let us know. So I apologize. We can end earlier if you need to, but if you guys need to sneak out, we were planning on capping at 2 anyways.
Yeah. So quick question. What would be your guys' biggest recommendation? And this also goes for myself and Phil because we're new YouTubers. So for any new YouTubers out there looking to start a channel, looking to create content, looking to do what you guys do, what would be your best recommendation for those people?
Consistency.
I love that. That's my number one advice for selling too.
It's a good one.
That's definitely a good one.
Mick, you want to take a shot?
Sure. I guess this is a little more specific in the consistency side of it, but like maybe a little more detail to that. I think especially when you're starting out, like just being able to like figure out a way to build it so that it works within your lifestyle anyways. Cause like, obviously you're going to have other priorities, other maybe work or whatever, family and stuff you have to take care of. So you just got to figure out like, how am I going to make this like the most streamlined version that just works for my schedule, at least to start, before you start to say like, I'm going to build out this awesome looking Como style studio and I'm going to like do the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. Like just get it in a place where you can actually just do it and you have it, you can get it to be consistent and make it actually really easy for you to make it. And I think that that's an important first step.
Yeah. I would say you can't wait until you feel like you can be where somebody else is at the middle of their journey, because if you do that, you'll never start, right? So you've already started, but you can't just expect to hit the ground running and be where, Swag is, where Bueller is, where Tom is, Reggie, whoever. You've just got to get out there. You've got to show up. You got to be consistent. Part of that consistency is what Mickey said, you've got to figure out how to make it work, but you've got to also start where you are and then chip away at it. You can't eat an elephant in a single bite. You've just got to slowly, like, I want to do this better. If your hook wasn't as good as you wanted to be on your last video, work on it on this one. If your lighting is annoying you, save up, get some lights eventually. Just every video, try and be just a little bit better. I think
prove one thing each time kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because I think I know in my mind, and this is something that Theo kept on kicking me over, was and the whole reason we came over was like waiting on perfection. I was always, maybe next week, dude, like I'm not ready. I'm working on this. I gotta have this lined up first, or I'm trying to figure out the position of X, Y, and Z. And I'm nowhere near any kind of the serious thing you guys are, but I only just started doing this because Theo is kind of like, perfection's not ever going to, nobody starts perfect, got to start somewhere. And I think that's the one thing that really got under my skin, was just the fact, like, everybody continuously improves, and everybody that I've ever spoken to says when they look at their first video, they just like cringe. They're just like, oh God, I did that. Like, I'm just like, all right, I could do that. I do that every time I look at my reels, man. I look at my reels from a year ago and I'm like, okay, I got 8 views on that. That sucks. But then
YouTube
6 months later, 2 million views. It's like six plays to 2 million plays within 6 months, and you can learn so much, and you just got to keep going.
Yeah, my first YouTube video, I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to do anything. It started out orange and got progressively oranger as it went on. Because color grading is not something you should touch on your first edit.
That's like me and lighting. At least we're brighter today than we have been. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll get better, guys. I promise.
Yeah, we're getting you there, bro.
It's fun. You just got to keep at it. And like one thing I would recommend for you guys as you do this show, find clips that you can split out and upload as standard non-live stream content, and that stuff works in the algorithm a lot better because it's more accessible to people, right? They're not gonna be as willing to click on a 2-hour live stream replay, whereas you can clip out 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, that's a good conversation, and put that up, and then you're getting multiple payoffs for one effort, essentially.
That's where we were trying to go with being a twosome, because I was going to start working on pre-recorded content, and Theo was going to be focusing on the lives, and that's what we're going to get. Right now we're starting off with lives. Next month we're going to start putting out some pre-records, and then hopefully we can then use that to divide and conquer a little bit more. But he's surfacing all the questions. He's running all those parts and pieces.
So
look at him growing in front of everyone's eyes to be the live czar of comics and chaos here really soon. So that's a good call though too, Drew, because a lot of people they make great content in these 2 hours, but it's really hard to like tell people to go to hour 3 minutes and 32, like 3 hours, 3 minutes, 32 seconds to see this one clip, when you could say, all right, I'm just going to cut this part out and I'm going to make it a whole other separate thing. I'm going to put it on a channel and just make a nice little intro to it and spend 5 minutes on it.
Well,
that's what we're getting.
To loop back around to what we were talking about in the beginning, YouTube has kind of basically, in my mind, I mean, it's a harsh word, but forced me to change to like figure out ways and hacks to not have to deal with getting demonetized or getting strikes and silliness, because my show, my channel is it's very comedic. It's honest. It's, I cuss like a sailor, and it's definitely not for kids. It's for adults. And I love that type of show. I love that atmosphere. And it sucks that, it's changing so rapidly that they forced me to kind of do the members only, live streams, and then do what you're saying, just chop up my segments, cut out all the terms of service stuff and put those out for free. Right.
Right.
And that way I can still do the show I love, because Doc Joe in the chat, said something that is a very key point, and that's having a passion for it. Like, figure out ways to reignite your passion and stick with it, because if you really love it and you stick with it, you'll get a grind. You'll get figure out stuff, how to do stuff easier, and it'll just become like any old thing after a while.
I think everybody on the panel can agree with that. If you don't love this, you're not going to like this.
Yeah, you have to. You definitely have to love it, because
everything that comes with it, you're gonna hate it.
Yeah, you definitely have to love it. There are many days where I did not feel like doing a video, but I just did it anyways, right? So it's like if your love meter is here, and that morning I woke up here, like, because I start from a place of here, I'm still have enough in the tank to like still do it. You know what I mean? So it's like, if it's something you're not passionate about, you're not going to have that motivation. But
I am.
But the other,
it's a bummer. Real quick, I apologize. I just want to say this. It's a bummer because along those lines, the big content creator in the comic content YouTube world, Brian Wood over at Simple Man's Comics, is stopped. He's ending his live stream. He's going to quit doing Comic News Weekly. He just doesn't feel like he's kind of lost the passion, and it's a bummer. Hopefully at some point he'll jump back into it or reignite that passion. But that's somebody who was one of like the first people ever doing this, on this platform, and it can happen. You have to love it. If you don't, it becomes a chore.
Yeah. The other thing I would just say, like, for you guys, this is something that I told myself when I started it, and like I would recommend this to anyone who's thinking of doing it, is like, I actually just set a goal for myself. When the very first time I made a video, I told myself, all right, I'm going to make 30 videos. Like, I'm just going to do 30, and maybe it'll be 3, 4, or 5 times a week. I'm going to make 30 videos. And then when I get to 30, I'll see how I feel. And you can do that same thing with your guys' show, where it'd be like, all right, we're going to make 20.
Right.
We're going to, every Sunday, we're going to do 20. And then when you get to 20, you'll realize, like, well, now there's all these people expecting our show, and so it's like, oh, we got to do 21. And then now you're on the treadmill. There you go.
Yeah.
So that's
hamster wheel has started
I want
spinning.
to address this comment right here. So it says, this year I want to work on trying to connect and get on chats and guest panels. So, you've already done 2 of those 3 things. And eventually we do plan on putting a link in the chat and having anybody that wants to join us, kind of like, we'll call it like impromptu lives. Those will be coming in the future. So anybody that's in the chat now, stay tuned for that. We'll definitely love to have you on. Young Aztec, I saw that comment. I think Phil addressed that. We appreciate that, sir. Thank you. We know music's an issue here. We talked about that.
One real quick thing that I would suggest.
Yeah.
Use Discord. Discord is a great place for
Discord.
Yep. Yeah, and you can utilize it for call-ins. You know, I just figured that out for live shows.
That's right. You did that last night.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're,
it was cool. There's somebody like called in like the radio. You know?
Yeah. If your viewers, you know, have Discord, know how to use it. It's very easy. I plan for my viewers. I plan on doing like a short little, you know, this is how you do things. This is what it is. This is what you can do with it. Because Discord's an amazing app, especially for the community aspect and getting engagement and, you know, collaborating with your community members. It's really cool. And the call-in part of it, just who doesn't love those old school radio shows and having your own radio show? Like,
yeah,
you know, long time listener, first time caller.
That's what I was talking about. I wanted to say that to you guys when you first came in. Honestly, when all three of you guys came in, I was just like, I wanted to say it, but I thought it was too much of a dad joke, and I was going to date myself. I was going to be like, no, don't do that, Phil. You're going to look like a stupid fanboy.
David, I'm going to need a little bit more elaboration on this question, because on this channel, we don't shy away from any questions.
No, it's not.
Answer anything. So what is that in reference to?
He was asking about, if you don't know this, but Bolo used to be over on Simple Man's Comics channel. That's kind of where he got his start. Him and Wood were, you know, they created content together, and you know, they were part of the big CBSI family, and they kind of branched off and started Simple Man's Comics, and that's, you know, kind of where Bolo got his start. So, but no, that's not why Wood is bailing. No, or not bailing. That's not why Wood is
retiring or lost his passion. Yeah. And I can appreciate that at times, but at the same time too, I think you need to schedule yourselves breaks, right? Mm-hmm. Not either by getting some things in the can or reposting some old good content, maybe with a couple of little parts and pieces as an update kind of situation. Because the other reason too is when Theo and I came up with this situation about being a tandem, the good thing was, and making friends like you guys, you know, starting to try and bring other people in. There's gonna be mandatory weekends off. Like Theo's gonna definitely take a weekend off every couple of months. Phil's gonna definitely take a weekend off every couple of months, and we rotate in different people to kind of do those things. But I do feel like everybody, no matter what your job is, even as a content creator, like maybe just make some things to air during that time, load them in ahead of time, have them hit play at a certain point in time to load out for everyone. But I do feel like we have to take breaks once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, and that's like you don't want it to feel like a chore. So it's like, if you just feel like you don't feel like doing, like I try to be consistent, but at the same time, if I just don't feel it that day, I just don't stress.
Yeah.
I
mean, here's some inside baseball.
We're our own bosses, right? So
yeah.
I mean, who's going to yell at you? You, right?
Here's a little hack for you guys. If you don't feel like making content, like I only do weekly videos typically. I try and put a video out every Saturday. If you don't feel like doing that, you can just have a live stream. I mean, that's not going to do you guys any good. But, you know, you get into the pre-recorded side, you know, that's what you can do. You can hop on a live and
make a short,
take some pressure off of you.
Yeah. Or make the vice versa.
Well, it's funny. Whenever I'm getting stressed on one app, I'll go live on another app, and all of a sudden I feel better. So
there you go.
I think there's some truth to what you just said.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
And I see officially unofficial geek posted a comment in there, and it's like, it's something that we're starting to see in YouTube as a greater community is content creator self-care, like just awareness, because there's a lot of people in the content creator space that are just burning out. And I mean,
they wear masks though too, right? Content creators, like we're all here. Okay, let's be honest for a moment. In some way, shape, or form, when we come on camera, okay, you know, we've all got truths. We've all got things we're going through. Like, you know, my daughter may have had a bad day with chemo, and with what's going on, she's having a bad reaction. She's trying to do stuff in school, and I'm trying to help her through things. And as a parent, I'm like losing my mind all the time. Yeah. But I can't come in here with that every single time, right? I need to know, I need to be able to vent to my friends, to Theo, to those people in my community that brought me into comics. There are those people, right? That keep me in those places. But when I come on here and I have a conversation, nobody I can't bring that face because this is my retreat. This is where I can go, and all of those things for just an hour. I can be somebody else, but eventually that's not healthy because I have to learn how to deal with things. You know, I need a safe place, but I need to learn how to balance those things. And we wear so many masks. I don't know. Thoughts
for sure.
Well, no, I respect that. I mean, if I brought half my crap that I go through every day, I mean, you guys would literally call me Rage. So
I'll be honest. Phil, man, that's rough. And what I would do and what I would suggest is use this as an outlet, man, for stress relief, for you know, being around people that you respect, and you know, use it as a thing to laugh. And because in the right community, around the right people, it is an amazing thing, right? Creating content, like, again, back to circle to the beginning of the show, creating content, it's just creating anything, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether, you know, it's you know, whatever it is, creation, there's something that the human psyche gets out of it, and on top of it, you're getting, you know, people, you surround yourself with people that care about you, and if you're going through a shit situation, they're gonna let you know, hey, you know, what can we do to help? What can we do? Because that's a tough thing, man. And I don't have kids, but you know, I utilize this community big time. When my brother had bone cancer, and it was a struggle, right? And this community helped me out so much, man, so much. And I think that's the important part. That's the thing that we need. We fell so far away from, right? We don't have that anymore. Most people don't even talk to their neighbors. They don't even know their neighbors. You know, they haven't even said hello to them.
A lot of people too that I didn't realize until the other day as well. It was when we were making content at there's a studio that we were creating downtown in Grand Rapids. There's being created in downtown Grand Rapids that was built for, you know, people that generally don't have the opportunity. A lot of our Black and brown communities, a lot of our underprivileged communities, where they can come in, they can film, they can learn production, they can learn writing, they can learn all these different things, because a lot of people don't understand that at the same time too, content creation is art, and that is an outlet. This is a way of people expressing themselves. And it wasn't until I thought about it like that too, that I started to realize, well, that's why I was like making 2 or 3 reels a day. That's why I was, you know, because it was something to pour myself into, have a little bit of fun, kind of forget about the things going on. And, you know, it's a community of support and a coping mechanism at the same time. It's just all about learning that balance, kind of like how Swaggle was talking earlier about just finding balance in your content creation. It's also just in what your passion is as well, to inspire that content creation.
And I think a lot of people have like the fear of the gear, right? Like I've got to have this to make videos. I got to have that to make videos. If people knew the percentage of YouTube videos that are shot, edited, and uploaded on an iPhone, they'd probably just lose their mind, because you have to like pixel peep to tell the difference between an iPhone 13 and a really high-end camera anymore. So it's definitely not something you have to go and spend $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 to get into. It's just, you know, you can use what you have until you can, you know, upgrade what you want to or what you need to upgrade.
Yeah.
So just starting is the important part.
I like to every now and again do those videos where I go to the cons and I talk to the dealers and stuff. And literally what I use is my phone, and then I have this little mic that I plug into it. And every time I go up to the dealer, I'm like, yeah, let's just do a quick thing. And I film them, and they're always like, that's it? And I'm like, yeah, you know, this is all you need. And so to that point, you don't need all that stuff.
Yeah. And I say that, and then I was telling you about the setup I have. You're like, yeah, I wouldn't record it.
Yeah, as you are, you know, in 4K and have, you know, multiple light changes. And
stuff.
I've got a grip and, you know, a boom or a shotgun mic.
Like I was saying backstage off stream, like I work in film and stuff. So when I started my channel, I was like, I really like don't I mean, I care about it looking like somewhat nice, but I was like, I don't want to be gripping and lighting my own YouTube thing. This is for fun, so it was like, how minimal can I make this for myself?
Mm-hmm.
It still looks clean, brother. I'm
but now it's like, oh well, I gotta catch up to like,
yeah, I'm gonna use my
how
phone
Drew
next
looks
week,
and
but-
stuff. Maybe I do need to upgrade and stuff.
right.
Hey, I'm not very pretty, so I got to make the shot look pretty. That's all there is to it. I got to mesmerize people with the colors in the background.
That's my line too, dude. I'm just like, I mean, at this age, we may as well enjoy all the wrinkles and the cracks and the blemishes on my face, because nobody's going to say like Phil uses filters. Like, boy, it's more like, God, I wish Phil would use filters, or maybe kind of drop it down to 1080 or 720p, man. Seriously, it's just.
Yeah. I agree with Audrey. Yeah, y'all are already pretty, okay?
Well,
you guys
thank
are
you.
good.
But
You guys are good.
Face for radio.
I gotta say,
you guys know, to the YouTubers, I mean, dude, you guys do provide a service. Not many people can do what you guys do. There's a lot of people that are at home. They're stuck at home because A to Z reasons, COVID, etc. They work from home, so people need something to hear. They like to hear your honest opinions on stuff. So you guys provide a service to people. Don't ever tell yourself otherwise.
Oh yeah,
you just have bad lighting as I do it.
Yeah.
Man,
well, Chad, we're
almost
at 2 hours. If anyone has any more questions for these three fantastic gentlemen, let us know. Otherwise, Como, what do you got coming down the pipeline?
Really, right now, most of my efforts are focused on getting ready for con season. I've got my first show is in Kansas City in mid-March. I bought a really big collection at the end of last year, and just trying to get as much of that ready as I can before that. But I think I've got one more clip from my live stream last week I'm going to upload. And I did manage to get a top 10 comics list out, and I've got one of my bigger top 10s coming out probably this week, as long as I don't get sidetracked. I do like a big quarterly. It's still called Comics to Invest In, but I don't know. It's basically, I treat it more like a, comics to buy now before it might price you out is really what it is. It's like stuff that's climbing that I've got to wordsmith it, because you can't say that. Nobody will watch that shit. But
damn it, Dan, you did that in my questions already. Sorry.
But,
there was a question.
Oh no, you're good. But that's kind of what I've got going on right now.
Neither.
How about
you, Brian?
What do you got coming down the pipeline?
I'm just really kind of keying in on trying to make sure that whatever content I'm putting out right now is up to expectations of myself. I really want the layout of the show to look good for people. I want it to have like things that the audience can partake in the show, and become really engaged and do certain things and just basically be part of the show. I think I really like the aspect of people being able to call in and talk and this and that, and at the same time just continuing to have fun. I'm really gonna like I said, start keying in on creating segments and ideas about stuff that I enjoy collecting, and stuff that opening up new ideas to people and stuff like that. And that's about it. Hang out, have a good time.
Of that too, by the way, man. I mean, there's a time and place to address the garbage generally when it's near the dumpster, but all the other times we should be talking about the flowers and how nice they smell.
For me last night's show was kind of that. It was kind of like this is kind of putting a big bow on everything and being able to walk away from it for a while. Now you guys all know something's probably going to pop up at some point where it's comment, always little snarky comment might be made, but it just makes it easy to kind of not talk about it as much anymore, and talk about the cool stuff, talk about other aspects, like eBay is really kicking ass right now, man. I've been selling a lot of good books on eBay lately.
I saw on eBay too. Yep.
Yeah, and not only that, going to cons and stuff, and small little cons, it would be cool to start looking into seeing if there's, VFW hall shows and this and that to set up at. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that I think 2023 is going to bring this community and this hobby. Hopefully.
Oh yeah.
How about you, Swag?
Well, coming up this week, I'm sure I'll make a couple videos. I know I have one coming up. It'll be a whiteboard video this week. If you happen to see some of
Good
the
stuff,
videos
yeah.
I always, talk about putting on a little bit of a mask and playing a little hyperbole version of yourself. I tend to be very facetious when I do these types of whiteboard videos. So hopefully they're like entertaining and people don't take me too seriously when I do them. But so I'll have some of that coming out this week. And then, I mean, I don't know who else knows what 2023 has in front of us. I'm sure I'll go to some cons this year. I'm really hoping actually later this year I can make some East Coast cons, Heroes Con.
Me too. Yeah.
Try to see Drew in the flesh, those types of things.
You going to San
We're
Diego
gonna make
again?
Heroes this year.
What's that?
You going to San Diego again, Swag?
I'll definitely go to San Diego. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, we'll got to link up again. I had a great time
for sure.
there last year. That was fun, man.
Yeah, that was super fun. And I got to see Brian there too, which was awesome.
I met Brian and you actually for the first time in person.
Yeah.
So
hoping to do that. I think hopefully those will be in the cards this year. And
So who else going to San Diego this year? Let's raise hands. Who else going to San Diego this year? Oh, one man. Who else going to C2E2 this year? What, Theo? I know you're going. Put your hand up. What are you doing, dude? Did you freeze?
He froze.
Killing me.
No.
No, I can see his hands moving.
He's ignoring me. Yeah, you're going to Chicago, you liar. Yeah. You're my roommate. What the hell? And who's going to New York? No?
I would like to go to Terrificon.
I'm going to try to go to Terrificon.
No, I froze. I've got some friends that run Terrificon. I'd like to go out and see, actually. That would be a good call.
I might go back to ECC, Emerald City.
Yeah. It's early again.
Everything's in March. Is every single con in March this year? It feels like to anyone else.
Well, ECCC is always the first. It seems like the first weekend of March or whatever. But yeah, I know like Kansas City is mid. It's St. Patrick's Day weekend, and C2E2 is a little earlier again, which is kind of nice. But
running against Mega, it's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm skipping C2E2 this year. I'm going to try and go to the Kane County Toy Show, which is also up there. And I just can't swing 2 6-hour trips to Chicago in 1 month.
I understand. It's just a couple hours for me, so it's just like I could walk.
Yeah,
if I had to. Well, guys,
so far, 3 main ones for me. But really quick, I wanted to highlight this comment right here and just say I appreciate that comment, because you know what, this is something myself and Phil are trying to do with this channel particularly. We're trying to make it a place where everybody can come chill. So we appreciate that.
Glad to hear you here. Glad to have you here, sister. And glad to make friends last week. We had never met until we met on somebody else's show, and we were head-to-head enemies and made good friends. So appreciate it, sister. Appreciate you coming and hanging out with us this evening, sincerely.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate everybody in here. We got 30 people still in the chat. If you haven't liked this segment, can you do that? More importantly, can you sub it up? Okay, can you sub it up? We appreciate that, guys. We've been on here for about 2 weeks. We're at 236.
2 weeks today
now. Yeah, 2 weeks today. Look at that.
That's really
not
good.
Too bad. Not too bad.
You're
appreciate it.
Off and running.
Yeah.
It snowballs.
We hope so.
We appreciate everybody that stopped by. You guys are all amazing. We appreciate all the questions in the chat, all the good vibes, all good people in here. I mean, what can you say?
Keep it positive, everybody. See everybody next weekend. And until then, let's let our guests say goodbye to everyone as well. No? Good?
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
See you next week.